After arriving in Kathmandu from Tibet, we had 9 days before going to Bhutan, so we decided to go trekking. We booked up and flew from Kathmandu to Pokhara. Pokhara is a 35-minute flight from Kathmandu, and from there we were going to hike up towards Mount Annapurna. We had to get trekking permits to go into the area, and these are the permits that the guide got for us. Soon we were on our way with our guide and our porter. Later the guide told us that when he met us he was not quite sure that we could make it because it was going to be a very arduous trek. However, by the time he told us that, he realized that we were a couple of tough old folks. We were soon up in the beautiful Nepalese countryside with beautiful terraced areas. Nepal is very mountainous, so it's very short of flat land, so terraces are used. We soon came on some hazards of the trail and had to make short detours. Here Moira is going to go around the side and cross the bridge. If you look closely at our guide, how attentive he was for crossing the bridge. See how he's watching, and as she gets a little bit further on, he's becoming more alert, and he's starting to get up, and now he's going to help her. But she didn't need his help, she was here on her own. The countryside was very beautiful with deep valleys and lovely views all around. It was a fascinating hike as we gained altitude. We had an amusing joke with the ladies working on the terraces. Our guide threw down a plastic bottle of water to them, but the water burst when it hit the ground, and they were very amused at that. Close to where these women were working, there was a fellow with oxen who was tilling the terrace ground. What an arduous job that was. It's certainly not an easy life in rural Nepal as a farmer. Our first night was in a cabin in this village, and after a good night's sleep we were ready to set off again next day with our guide and porter. We were following this river up through the valley, and before long we started to climb steps, very well maintained steps that seemed to go on forever. The countryside was beautiful with lush terraces all along the way. We stopped for lunch at a little place along the trail, and this lady was passing by, but she seemed to be very upset with either her boyfriend or husband who wasn't helping. Soon away in the distance we saw a fishtail mountain, a sacred mountain that's never been climbed. This was the sign to our next destination, which we were looking for. Children reciting their homework as we passed was a nice scene. The trail followed the contour of the mountain as the only access to the villages along the way. And to get the goods up to the villages, they use mule trains. And these mules are fascinating to watch as they make their way over these stones and up the stairs. How delicately the mules climb up the steps. After the mule train had passed, we carry on, and soon we came to another bridge. I always like to see Moira crossing the bridge. She makes such a delicate job of getting across. Then we met another mule train going in the opposite direction, and see how well built this trail is. This must have been built centuries ago and has been used ever since. It's just a work of art to see how it was built. It seemed that the monsoons were coming earlier this year, and every afternoon it would cloud over, spoiling the view. But we enjoyed the view down into the valleys as we gained altitude. Our next night was to be spent in this delightful hotel in this little village. In the evening, we went out to visit the local village of Gurkha. This is where the Gurkha tribesmen originally lived, and it was a very interesting place. Unfortunately, there were no Gurkhas about, but we could see how their lifestyle was in this village. Next morning, we could watch the sun rising over the peak of Annapurna. There are actually two Annapurna peaks, the west and the east. We continued our trek through beautiful countryside, getting ever higher in altitude. Another bridge from Warrior to Cross. She could find this one quite easy. It wasn't any difficulty at all for her. And still the steps went upwards. This day we climbed over 3,000 steps. Even at this altitude, the farmers work away with their oxen, and their young boy here helping out with tilling of the terraced areas. Another bridge from Warrior Cross. This one a little bit more wobbly than the last one, but it was beautiful with the lush growth and also the birds singing